Going back to the Bible itself, it says very clearly, Jesus came for Israel only, for the Jews. In the last 2000 years, probably every other country they have ventured. Christianity, missionaries have ventured, captured those countries in the guise of peace, happiness, joy, prosperity. But finally, there is only one thing that has happened. They have given the Bible to the people and taken away the wealth. In fact, Christianity, the Christian missionaries, this is what they did to every possible country on the earth, every possible continent on the earth. They went, they destroyed the indigenous people, their practices, and they looted the wealth. That exactly is what they did when they came to India. And then after they have gone back, they have left a splinter group, and that splinter group is now creating the unrest. Namaste to all, and I wish to thank Sangam Talks for giving me the opportunity to be on your program. It's very vibrant, and I'm sure it's a more controversial topic today. And I'm sure many of them would be more eager to know. Many of them know, but I think it's important that this awareness is spread. The menace of conversion, which is at the threshold of a country. Many of you know that Christianity is a religion, is an exclusive religion, close to 2000 years old. And I will dwell upon the Bible itself. The Bible has close to 66 books, 1500 years of writing, close to 40 scholars who have written over a period of time. Now, this particular religion called Christianity originates to Judaism, which is practiced in Israel. Today, Judaism has transcended to Christianity, from Christianity to Islam. So, if you look at and it's commonly called as the Abrahamic religion. Um, when you said Abrahamic religion, when it comes to Israel, I think it's more of very well concentrated to the particular region itself. So the Jews do not involve in any more conversions. But then over a period of time, with Christianity coming in, the Jews were converted to Christianity, and then post a good amount of years is when Islam also evolved. I'm going to talk about what Christianity is doing to India. It has traveled wide and far, and now it's knocking at the doors of our country. As a politico religious leader, I feel it is my responsibility to caution everybody on the menace called conversion. Going back to the Bible itself, it says very clearly, Jesus came for Israel only, for the Jews. There are many verses in the Bible very clearly said that Jesus came for the salvation of the Jews. But the Jews themselves rejected Jesus. And post Jesus era, I think close to 300 odd years, with the emergence of Constantine, the politics and religion got married due to various reasons. And Christianity started with the Roman Empire, and has spread far and wide in the promise of salvation. In the last 2000 years, probably every other country they have ventured. Christianity, missionaries have ventured, captured those countries in the guise of peace, happiness, joy, prosperity. But finally, there is only one thing that has happened. They have given the Bible to the people and taken away the wealth. We also have endured this menace with the onslaught of the Europeans who came to India. The ruthless rule on this country has eroded our religion, our wealth, and our indigenous way of life. In fact, Christianity, the Christian missionaries, this is what they did to every possible country on the earth, every possible continent on the earth. They went, they destroyed the indigenous people, their practices, and they looted the wealth. That exactly is what they did when they came to India. And then after they have gone back, they have left a splinter group, and that splinter group is now creating the unrest. Unfortunately, many people don't realize the dangers that we are in. We are at the threshold of a revolution. Thankfully, 2014, we have a new government. But then that has not really served a purpose. Today, if you look at the news, you can see what's happening. There are villages being converted to Christianity, and they call themselves as Christian villages, Christ villages. What is the purpose of these Christ villages? They are proposing the idea of shaking up the geopolitical status of this country. What happens when certain religions concentrate in a particular area? It becomes pressure groups. Then they start having their own political leaders, and these political leaders come to power. And when these people come to power, what happens? The legislations that are made are anti-Hindu. A classic example is Andhra Pradesh today. We all know what is happening in Andhra Pradesh. Likewise in Tamil Nadu. Few leaders are enough who represent these minorities to shake up the whole system. It is indeed a very important matter for us to take caution, to understand the tactics and how to deal with them. Many a time, people have discounted the idea saying that it will not impact our country. This is foolhardiness. The very fact that we are discounting the fact saying that nothing will happen itself has actually destroyed our country. Take, for example, many people say, many of the Hindus say that Hinduism has lasted for several thousands of years and it will last. This does not go well with me, and I'm sure many of them will not agree because um, we know where was Hinduism, to what geography it extended, from Kandahar to Cambodia, from Kashmir to Sri Lanka. Today, that has shrunk. God forbid, in the next 10, 20 years, if we don't wake up, Hinduism will remain probably in Varanasi and in the archives of libraries. Today, Christianity, the missionaries are involving in militant conversion business. I call it business because it is no more religion. Because we see that wherever they have gone, though they were Christians, they never practiced Christianity. Take, for example, our own India, where today our Prime Minister has been invited to involve in a fight between two churches in Kerala. These are prototypes. These are the kind of these are flares which exist in probably every church, but does not come to public notice. Are these good examples of Christianity? If churches themselves are not able to practice, if Christians themselves are not able to practice, what is the point of converting Hindus into Christianity. There have been Christian wars across the globe. Time and again, people have killed themselves, genocide has happened. The church itself has involved directly or indirectly in several wars. They have been able to take decisions on politics. Whereas while religion is supposed to guide people spiritually, uh, Christianity for that has gone the politico-religious way. It is today a center of power. It is today a center of wealth. It is today a center of control. It is today a center of mandate. Is this what we want in our country? Everyone needs to retrospect that. Unfortunately, I find Hindus in deep slumber. They don't realize the importance of awakening. Many states, for example, have seen this investment, Christian investments. Look at Punjab, look at Tamil Nadu, look at Kerala, look at the whole of Northeast, look at Andhra. You see these Christian missionaries have gone deep into our own civilizations. They have come in the guise of service, guise of helping us, but actually the vested interest is very clear. They want to erode our country. They want to take away our practices. Finally, it is only one thing. It's called control. It's called political control. While we dwell upon this, I would like to bring to your notice, it is not just the tribals, it is not just the poor who fall prey for this Christian tactics. Just take, just check your own neighborhood. There are enough turbulence happening there. Just a few years back, many of them challenged that Christianity has not grown. It is just 2%. But there's a startling revelation which says that it should be anywhere between 8 to 10% today. From 10 years back, it was 2%, and today it is 8 to 10%. Imagine what will happen in the next few years. It is purely going to erode our thought process. It can, for example, the churches, I hope people know that there are several denominations in Christianity. Unlike what is preached, that is not the truth. There are several denominations in Christianity itself. Each denomination has its own version of the Bible. And not each denomination need to look into each other's eyes. They take each other as a threat. I would say this is a classic network business operation. They want to poach each other. These denominations, for example, don't. Some say Jesus is the Son of God. Some say Jesus is God. Some say Jesus is half God, half human. And there are denominations in India itself, for example, which does not donate blood, which does not celebrate Christmas, which does not salute the national flag. So each denomination to itself, and most of them are cults. This the general public does not understand. The general Hindus don't understand. There is always a soft governor saying that all is well, but there is a menace, and it is going to evolve into a revolution which will shake the very foundation of our country. It is a wake up time. People need to realize it. And if we don't take necessary steps, then I'm sorry, I will not be able to help. Neither will anyone be able to help. Today, we see the helplessness in so many spheres. The church itself is far sighted. It does not think about the next few years. It talks about plans for the next 10 years, 20 years, 100 years. That is why what you see today is something most of them were caught unaware. While I spoke about this menace 20 to 25 years back, nobody took it seriously. Today, what you see is the fruit of the ignorance of Hindus and the political system. Uh, as far as the government is concerned, uh, I had a lot of expectation from the current government. But then, unfortunately, I also find them falling into the same trap. This government needs to realize that they came with a majority mandate from the Hindus. The Hindus voted for them because they realized that it is high time that we have a government which is a Hindu-backed government. But unfortunately, even this government is falling into the trap of religious favoritism, appeasement politics. Uh, the government should understand that whatever appeasement is being done, finally, when it comes to voting, they will not vote the BJP because the BJP is classified, at least in the Christian kingdom, both in India and across the globe, as a satanic Hindu fanatic religion party. The very fact that Hindus are defending themselves for being insulted is being taken as Hindu aggression. I'm sure many of you have seen enough of movies, enough of public posts where people insult Hinduism. But when Hindus question it, they themselves have been branded as Hindu fanatics. Unlike the minorities, especially Christians and the Muslims, if anything is spoken against them, there will be riots. We've seen enough riots, as recent as the one in Bangalore. So the people need to wake up. I am a little astounded at a lot of organizations which thumb the chest that they are Hindu organizations. Suddenly, I find all of them being in slumber. Today, there's at the ground level there is a good awakening. I will give an example. Recently, there was an uproar on Amitabh Bachchan. 10 years back, would any what were people talking about Amitabh Bachchan? He was a demigod. People used to adore him and worship him, and he was a man who could not make mistakes. But today, for a reason which he insulted Hinduism, there was an uproar. There is an awakening at the ground level, but then organizations have gone into deep slumber, which is very dangerous. The so-called lot of Hindu munches, protection organizations, we don't hear them anymore. They've all become obscured, and I don't know the reason. Probably they've gone into a comfort zone saying that everything is fine, and they have left everything at the hands of Prime Minister Modi and Mr. Amit Shah. Everybody has a duty. We cannot blame them. We cannot put the onus on those two people. I think it's each of our responsibility to take caution, to understand the dangers, and we need to support this country. So, with these few words, I thought I could take more of questions because mine is more of a general perspective as of now. But I would like to give more time on the question and answer because a lot of people would have questions. And through those questions, we could get into more of a dialogue.
The Romans crucified Jesus, so how did they become Christians and worship Jesus Christ?
If you look the Bible, actually, if you look at the Bible, if you read the Bible, the Romans didn't crucify Jesus. The Romans were the rulers at the time. And actually, if you look at Pontius Pilate, who was the governor, he tried everything possible to rescue Jesus. It was the Jews who demanded and who put the threat to the government to crucify. It was not the Romans. Romans were just an instrument, and they did it reluctantly. It's very clear. Pontius Pilate, who was the governor, tried every possible dialogue to reconcile, and not allow Jesus to die on the cross. But then the Jews said, if they even put a threat saying that if you don't crucify Jesus, then you are going to be disobedient to Caesar. So it is not the Romans, but it is the Jews for whom Jesus had come. It is very explicitly told in the Bible. Jesus himself had told, "I have come for the Jews. I have come for the Jews," and exclusive for the Jews. In fact, there are a couple of verses in the Bible very clearly says that when people went for favors, Jesus said, I cannot throw the bread to the dogs." When he compared the dogs, it means the non-Jews. All the non-Jewish people, he compared them to dogs. Okay, that's called Gentiles in common word. Okay, and then because Jesus is very clear saying that I have come for the Jews, and salvation is only through the Jews. The second narrative is not a narrative. Second verse in the Bible, which I want the audience to know, is this: when Jesus said, "Go and spread the good news," he said, "Go to every Israelite only, not to the non-Israelites, not to the Jews." He said, "I have come for the lost sheep of Israel." For example, if you look at the 12 disciples of Jesus, they were based on the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, very, very symbolic, very symbolic. None of the 12 members were non-Israelites. Okay, it's not that civilization was not there. Civilization was there. But then very clear, Jesus said, "I have come for the Jews." And the Jews rejected him.
There's a follow-up question to that. Why did the Jews reject him, and why till now they don't accept him?
Because Jesus said, "I am the promised Messiah." And the Jews said, "You're not the promised Messiah." Simply because Jesus said, "I am the Son of God," which was blasphemy for them. They didn't, because for the Jews have their own theory of the king who would come and rescue them. And Jesus didn't fall into that box of what they had in mind. So Jews rejected him, and Jesus said, "I am the king, I am the promised Messiah." Jews said it was blasphemy. In fact, Jesus was put on the nailed to the cross purely because he claimed he was God.
Jairamji, namaste. I have a question, and probably if it is, somewhere hurting your faith, you may actually choose not to answer it.
No, then that becomes that's a question that I need to definitely listen and answer.
I would really appreciate if we can do that. My one first question is that you talked about Modi ji involving himself with the conservative, especially the priesthood. So this is the Jacobite and the traditional Oxford. I forgot the other
Orthodox churches.
Yes, and so do you think that in a way the BJP is not trying to reach out to the people of other faith, but they are going through the priests? So what they are doing is they are inviting people, for example, Maulvis, the same way the priests, on board to say that you bring your people along. Do you think that is a mistake of BJP? Because when it comes to Hindu fraction, they are not doing that. You don't see them engaging with any of the Mathadishas. They only do it with the other faith. So this politics that they are trying to do right now, would it be hurtful for the party in the long run? If you could just give us an idea on that. The second one is that you did a video with, I think, String, where you talked about this international conference that happened, and you talked about the facts. For example, they're claiming that the conservative number of conversion in India is close to 6%. That is a conservative number.
8 to
Higher is where
10%.
it could be 8 to 10%.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So that was actually an eye-opening video. I would request everyone to see that video. And the last question, which I said, is that do you ever find an inner conflict where you see that the faith that you practice has become something very different, not just in India, but everywhere? So do you ever face this inner conflict to say that what I'm practicing is not what everyone is adhering to? So is there a need for this church? Is there a need for Pope? Is there the need for this whole system that has come, there?
Okay. So let me get to the first question. The BJP, whatever they're doing is fatal. You can quote me. It is fatal for the BJP, and it is fatal for the Hindus also. I have been working as a BJP Karyakarta at the booth level. Okay, and I gather a lot of data. I publish a lot of data. During all the elections in the last 6 to 7 years, whatever I worked at the booth level, when I go back to the data, it's very clear. 100% minorities come and vote. When I said minorities, it's very clear, the Christians and the Muslims. The 100% voting percentage. Hindus, only 50% come and vote. And the 50% is not guaranteed to the BJP. I do not know if the BJP knows this equation. If they don't know, then they need to hire me. And I'm sure this data is existent everywhere. The sad thing is this: after the elections, nobody does an analysis. Even if it is done, I do not know if it has been percolated to the ground level. The appeasement politics is fatal. You know why? For now, the church showcases high moral and ethical stance. Right? Everybody today tells it's highly moral. It's a churches Christians are moral, but look at the amount of corruption, the abuse, sex abuse. Look at the amount of land grabbing that is happening. Nobody talks about it. Nobody's aware of it. See, Prime Minister Modi, my sincere request to him is he needs to keep away. Let these factions fight with each other and kill each other. And they will kill each other. Because you know why? They are not into the business of, they are into the business of religion. They're not here to guide anybody spiritually. They are purely into the business of religion. They want to ensure that they have political control through the menace of conversion. These Orthodox churches also, many of them say they don't involve in conversion. Okay, there are several denominations in this country, 100 plus, and each denomination has a role to play in destabilizing our country. There are some big churches today. For example, the Roman Catholic Church says that we are the biggest church. We don't involve in conversion. That's a big lie. Because I am a Roman Catholic and I know that once in a year, there's something called Mission Sunday. We all contribute money for missionary work. Okay, which generally nobody knows. But I, as a Catholic, the Catholic Church today openly says that, pronounces thumping the chest, saying that we don't involve in conversion. Doesn't mean that they don't contribute to conversion, right? Because there is a Mission Sunday that happens, and we all ensure that every church is mandated to organize some kind of a program to ensure that money is collected. Second thing, when the Citizenship Amendment Act was passed, which denomination spoke against the act? Wasn't it such a hypocritical statement by the bishops of the Catholic Church, who came forward and said that it is anti-humane? First of all, these clergymen, the churches, the bishops and the cardinals, they are not elected democratically. They are elected by the Vatican. See, people, Hindus need to know, first of all, the church is a sovereign within a sovereign. It is a state within a state. Please understand. For them, if we go back, if you talk anything, they will say we will deal with it the way the church laws. Okay, so uh, the appeasement politics will not work. It is futile. Whatever appeasement in terms of concessions and all that, whatever the government is doing, it's a waste of time. Rather, I would say spend more time on the low-hanging fruits, which is the Hindus. Even I'm sure an average Hindu will agree. If the BJP is neutral, they will vote for it. Right? If it is neutral, you need to be just. I expected the Prime Minister BJP to be neutral, but the appeasement politics is something which I am not able to accept myself. I do not know how an average Hindu is going to accept. On this topic, unfortunately, an average Hindu, it is a Tina factor. There is no other alternative but the BJP. So that's answer to a first question.
Second was more of a thought. The question that I had was, do you ever face an inner conflict between what you believe and practice and what you see around you?
Yes, that's the reason why I, as a person, probably very few among in this country are raising voices, have taken the courage of sticking out our necks. It's not easy. It is very hard, especially in the Christian world. You cannot speak. You cannot speak like this. There is definitely a conflict. There is huge hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. When I said what is preached is what is not practiced. Christianity is supposed to be a religion of austerity, right? But today it has plundered the whole globe, and these things are very contradictory. Leave alone that if you look at the amount of clergy abuse that has happened, the sex abuse, the child sex abuse that has happened across Europe and in our own country. Our country, it is not, the lid is not open. And I'm sure someday something will happen and the lid will open and we know the kind of abuse and corruption that prevails. Certainly, yes, there is definitely a contradiction between what is being spoken and what is being practiced, including the very act of the church itself. Have I clarified? I can speak more.
No, I think I got the answer. I can see that, like us, you are also in an inner conflict, what to believe. And, is it really the
No,
final
I'm not
call?
in a conflict. I'm not in a conflict. My idea of religion is very clear.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, it is moved to spirituality. Okay,
Okay.
it's no more religion; it's spirituality. Right.
So
So we
what do
have
you think would be the way forward for Christians, for Muslims? How do you think they'll be? So we have this. We had a session in the morning, and again we were discussing the same thing. That how do we say that okay, religion is what you practice, what you believe in, what your faith is, but that is not the same thing as your dharma. So you can still believe in this and keep your faith.
no.
So
It does not. It does not fall into the Indian context. So it does not gel with the Hindu context of, because the Hinduism is inclusive and the Abrahamic religions are exclusive. You may. I just met. I just give you an example. I just met recently somebody who has been whose dear family has been abused by the church, and they have done something which is very, very serious. But even that person also only wants to resolve his problem, and then the next thing is he wants everyone in India to be converted. So converting it will not fall in line with the Hindu way of life, and I think there's a political will that is required to ensure that it's put in bay. Otherwise, there is always going to be a conflict. it will not gel. It's going to be a perpetual.
Congratulations, Mr. Onto, for your courage and conviction. First of all,
Thank you.
it is to be hugely appreciated. Now, I have something to say, and there are a few questions embedded in it, and I would like to you to react to it. One is that Islam particularly has a concept of ummah or millat, which means there is a Muslim brotherhood which is beyond the state nation boundaries. You know, because you are a person who has uh, who clearly kind of restores our faith also. That means there are people who have greater allegiance to this nation, to this country, to this land, which is beyond whatever is their professed faith, or which is for them in person, and the allegiance to the nation state is beyond this and larger to this. And that is where my question lies. That similar concept in Christianity also, which is that they need to owe a higher allegiance to, let's say, Pope, or to a particular denomination which they follow. That is one. Second is, from what I have learned, and what you have been saying also, and it seems to me that you are well connected to the ground, that obviously there is a very, very strong part. There are obviously Christians at large, the practicing Christians, and then there is a controlling part, or the clergy, which is definitely acting in such a way that it is having an agenda which is beyond the interest of the Christians, or beyond the interest of the Indians at large.
The core of the Abrahamic religion, especially the Muslims and the Christians, is very clear. Anybody who's not part of the religion is a kafir or a Gentile. Okay, and he needs to fall in place. Uh, and there are verses in the Bible very clearly endorsing them. And it is cherry picked. These verses are cherry picked, and indoctrination is done to the people, to the followers. For example, when it comes to, especially when it comes to the BJP, okay, which is obviously a Hindu-backed party. The what is the narrative told is this: you cannot serve two masters. It's told in the Bible. You cannot serve two masters. So, which could have been a different context altogether, which is a different context altogether in the Bible. But here, when it comes to India, the verses that are used are this: you cannot serve two masters, and your allegiance is to the church head. And the church head very clearly dictates whom to vote or whom not to vote. There will be a lot of people today. I see a lot of people, non Hindus, joining the BJP. Please don't get fooled. I know a lot of people who are nothing but moles and spies, infiltrated the party. They have a vested interest, and the vested interest is very clear. They know very well the BJP is going to stay in power for the next 10 to 20 years. And these church leaders need someone to protect them from their corruption and crimes. I would like to bring to your notice one such experiment was, I just wanted to let it be something which is hilarious, but which is a fact, is that the first BJP Christian a member of parliament, as soon as he was elected, the first thing he said was this. This is not now, I think a good 10, 12 years back. He said, I will change Bharatiya Janata Party to Bharatiya Jesus Party. This is the core ideology. And I am not stating this. This is there. This is in the open media. The person told very clearly that I will change Bharatiya Janata Party into a Bharatiya Jesus Party. So when it comes to allegiance to the country, yes, they will have allegiance, provided everybody converts to Christianity.
The second part was related to the fact that the clergy part definitely is acting not only against the country, but against the Christians also. And you are not the only voice. There are few very distinct and clear voices. One is Mr. Rosario, with whom I am connected, and you are another. And I'm sure there are many other voices of similar kind.
No,
So,
we are a minority in the minority. We are a minority.
yeah,
See,
absolutely.
wait,
No, I just wanted to have about 10 seconds more. What you said is very important, which is that Miss Mahatma Gandhi made this, and I'm talking about, a person of the stature of Mahatma Gandhi, it is like a dog barking at moon. But Mahatma Gandhi made a mistake when he supported Khilafat movement in 1922, and he went to access Muslim public at large through the Muslim clergy. And if we have not learned from that mistake, which led to the partition of India, then what you say is absolutely something which should be written in gold. That don't try to address Christians at large through Christian clergy. It will be a fatal mistake, and not only a fatal mistake, it will be repeating of a fatal mistake. So I want you to kind of address that part in a little more detail.
see, because if there was some gratitude towards the current government, okay, uh, people should know, because people forget a lot of things, and BJP is very good at only one thing. They are they are not good at marketing whatever they have done, good things they have done. I will give you an example because I've been following a lot of things. There is one person, one priest, Father Tom. He was captured by the ISIS, and I know the minister, the external affairs minister, personally ensured that he is rescued. There were several other missionaries, several Christians who were stranded in Kuwait, and they were all rescued. This is before the CAA, and these people know exactly what is the condition in these countries, and India needs to be and how grateful they must be. But when the Citizenship Amendment Act was passed, all these people who took help, all these important people who took help, they went into hiding. Had I been one of the victims, I would have traveled the length and breadth of this country to talk about what great this government has done. So please don't get deceived by these people who are even now showing up their faces in the BJP or even in the RSS. They have a very clear vested interest. So I think the government needs to take it in caution and take it forward. And I think at least, if not appeasement, at least if they stay neutral, uh, I'm sure, I'm confident that they will come back to power. As far as Islamic is concerned, I do not want to get into that discussion because that's something which somebody else needs to pick up.
No. I mentioned Islam only in the context that they have a very clear and well-stated concept of Ummah or Millat,
Absolutely.
Muslim Brotherhood, which is a trans country, trans geography, trans language, trans culture. That
And
is a separate matter that it has failed. It has failed in India and Bangladesh, Pakistan. When they split, it proved very clearly that this brotherhood does not last beyond culture. Bengalis and Bengali speaking Muslims could not live with the Punjabi speaking Muslims, and that's why the split happened. So, this brotherhood is a concept only and a failed concept like communism. But
absolutely.
nevertheless, so I was asking whether there is a similar concept in Christianity, and you have confirmed that
Yes.
it
There
is.
is. There is. There is. If you look at today itself, in the Indian context itself, we should know that among each denominations they will kill each other. Each denominations, okay, they will kill each other. They will poach each other because they say my Jesus, my way of worshiping Jesus is different from your way of worshiping Jesus. But but if you look at even the remotest incident could be a fake incident, all the churches will stand united to defend them. But the common enemy is Hindus. Understand? The common enemy is Hindus. So each of these denominations will say they are all united, but they don't stand eye to eye with each other. You all know that one church member will not enter the other church member, other denomination churches. Okay, but then when it comes to galvanizing noise against our country, against Hindus, they are all united.
A lot of Sangh Parivar top leaders are they're in hand with without knowing very innocently. They go and join hand with the conversion mafia. Whole thing I call it as a conversion mafia, especially Christians, conversion mafia. So, for example, to say Fadnavis' wife going and joining with a tribal this thing organized by pastors themselves, hiding as a tribal saviors, something like that. See, the whole of the Sangh Parivar, they are ignorant of, they believe in face value of the things. They are very ignorant of other things. Even Andhra Pradesh, they help Jagan to uh, uh, acquire power. Now they are no, they know the state of Hindus there very very pathetic now. So he's the Constantine for Andhra Pradesh. Just uh, the Hindus are BJP just can watch. They can't do nothing. Their position is like that. They are more maybe 35%. Maybe they. This what you say. This is totally Maya. Today, Rajiv Gandhi spoke about. Now you people are mocking him. They're saying maybe today itself. Tamil Nadu is part of India like that. India is part of Tamil Nadu like that is there. They are mocking. In the reality, he has a access to the future plan of this conversion mafia. They are part of it. Congress is a part of it by via Sonia. So what I'm saying is, he's spilled that secret covert plan. So actually, all the other states are going to be like Tamil Nadu. He's want to say that, but the people are mocking him as a slip of tongue. It's a slip of brain. Actually, it is. What do you say? This is total Majal. We have been trapped. All the Hindus and this Sangh Parivar top leaders are trapped, and they are not. They feel like innocent. They're acting like innocent. What is your take on this?
See, as far as the Sangh Parivar is concerned, I am not the spokesperson and it would be inappropriate to tell anything. I am a Swayam Sevak only. But on the political front, which includes the BJP and the Congress and all the parties, at least on the BJP front, I personally feel that uh, they don't have a clue of how to handle this whole menace. Let us understand that it is not just the BJP. This this responsibility needs to be taken by every Hindu. It is because of their lackluster attitude. It is because of their deep slumber that they have been responsible. That what we see today, and what you see today is not which happened yesterday. It has been brewing for the last 20, 25 years or 30 odd years. Okay, we have been sleeping on it, right? I mean, I know so many Hindus come and say that they want to be inclusive. Though they are fanatic about their own religion, they don't understand. They don't understand the menace. They don't understand. And today they have been caught in a shock, and they are not aware. They don't know how to handle it, is what I see. They really don't know how to handle it.
Yes,
Allah
that's
said,
true. They don't know how to handle, and also see covertly without knowing this Sangh Parivar assisting them. So without
see,
knowing,
I
top
don't know. See,
even
I don't want to make a comment on that. It is for the Sangh. It is not me. I would say that this is a responsibility of every Hindu. So it is very inappropriate for me to make any comment on the Sangh, who's doing what.
So my question is a very simple and fundamental one. don't you think this entire framework of nationalism is deficient when it comes to dealing with Christian conversion? Because it's a doctrinal issue. This is an entirely doctrinal issue, and any Christian would accept that, of course, there are many abuses within this church or that church. There are differences between different sects, but all the same, if Christians, if India were to become Christian completely, then there is no reason why Christians cannot be just as nationalistic as anybody else, right? So in that sense, I think it would be nationalism falls short of checking all this conversion and other things, so long as you don't deal with the doctrine.
See, the doctrine is very innate to the religion, right? Because you have verse, you can cherry pick the verses, and you can erode the minds of the people. Yes, it needs political will, and as I mentioned earlier, there is going to be a conflict because we are inclusive in nature as a country, and Christianity is exclusive in nature. It will never go. It cannot match. We will not be able to cohabit unless there's the legislation. In fact, I do not know if you are aware. I had written to the Prime Minister a month back, asking the Prime Minister to think about the anti-conversion law, right? And if not the anti-conversion law, there's something called an anti-missionary law, because there is a similar such law which was passed in Israel because of a similar menace called missionaries, because of the missionaries, the aggressive militant missionary work that has been done to convert the Jews. So I've written to the Prime Minister, but I think I hope they take it up seriously and they find ways. There are a handful of Christians like us who can help navigate this whole country. They need to hear us also, because for us, country comes first. And I always believe that religion is personal. It ends at the tip of everybody's nose.
Sir, my question is that we all know that conversion and proselytization is a problem. We all know that the roots which is coming from is our constitution, which provides the propagation of their religion. The very word propagation itself is mentioned there, not the conversion. We all have discussed the problem. What should we do? From my point of view, the education mafia, which Christians have created, and which they have, with the help of constitution, they have made it flourish, is the root cause of conversion. What's your take on it, and how to deal with it? That's my question.
Everybody should know that when the Constitution was framed, especially in the context of right to religion, the initial proposal was right to practice and right to profess only. But it was hijacked by a few Christians who were in the Constituent Assembly. They had vested interest. They wanted to carry forward the idea of converting India into a Christian country. So it was stealthily added, and as usual, our Hindus took a backseat with a Chaltai attitude and allowed it to go through. Now, when I spoke about it some time back, in fact, in the letter what I've written to the Prime Minister, I said they need to think about an amendment on the very context of propagate. The government needs to discuss this and, if possible, find ways to legally how to remove this word propagate, because today the conversion business thrives on this word called propagate, saying that Constitution has given us the right to propagate. When I said, it says I have the right to go and tell you that your religion is not the way to salvation, my religion is the way to salvation, and you can use any ways. You can scare people away. As simple as this, scaring people away would be saying that you will go to hell, or your suffering is because you don't believe in Christianity. Okay, so allurement happens, scare happens. So a lot of things happen in the garb of the word propagate. So it is again left to the government. The government needs to think about it. I'm so happy that you spoke, because hardly anybody knows that these are the provisions in the constitution which the minorities use to further the business of conversion. So it is again, I know it's a challenge for the government, because I know they're facing a lot of challenges. Though they have good intentions, they're not able to. Though if they pass the bill, they're not able to implement it. So that's something which I already written to the Prime Minister, saying that he needs to relook at this. He and the cabinet, and there are Christians like us who can contribute in ways how to help the government. But definitely, yes, as you said, propagate is an instrument that is used to further the business of conversion.
So I just wanted to know your views on Mother Teresa, as well as how do you perceive the convent schools? I mean, how are they going ahead with their missionaries, and how far have they reached? So just your views on that, sir.
Mother Teresa, less spoken the better. There's enough information available and it's an open book. Her drive was to convert India. She was instrumental in setting up her charity homes, and what we see today is something which I am at a loss of words. But definitely, yes, she was instrumental in conversion, and something which that strikes my mind is this: you all need to know that if you read the story of Mother Teresa or even Graham Staines, they all came. Their stories talk about how they want to help the lepers. I did a little of research on leprosy. And if you look at leprosy is not indigenous to India. It was never part of India. Indian. It's not an Indian origin. In fact, I was getting into details and seeing that the DNA mapping is done somewhere close to Africa and all that. So these people came. First of all, they loot our country. They bring all this menace into our country. They loot our country, and then they throw back again breadcrumbs at us. So all these people who come here in the garb of service are those people who actually damaged our country. Right? They all damaged our country. When these people took all our gold, all our wealth, and today they're coming in the garb of service. And this garb of service is nothing but missionary. It's conversion. Very clear, it's conversion. They want to ensure that they play their part, and then they support their masters. While she spoke about austerity, we all know what happened when she wanted. She always flew the top aircrafts, and she had the privilege of picking up her phone and calling the President of the United States. And she had the best of treatments at hospitals, one of the best hospitals. So it's all there. I'm sure you must all have read Christopher Hitchens. He's given a lot of details about the missionary of charity.
So it was about your views on convent schools, like how
Yes.
they are going ahead. Yes.
Yes, this is the best factory to manufacture raw materials into your stand-up comedians who are coming out and abusing Hinduism. It nullifies the Hindu way of life, because when you enter a convent school, okay, you know what happens. Hinduism, in subtle ways, I've experienced myself through a lot of contacts, my own personal thing. If you say a shloka, then it will become taboo. But then you can recite the biblical verses. So what happens to a child who spends 5 to 6 hours every day in school for the rest of the 10, 15 years? What can you expect when the child comes out, given the fact that the Hindu family does not have even holy scripture in their houses, and most of them don't have time to teach the scriptures or talk stories about their own religion. So what happens to a child who comes out of it? Obviously, indoctrinated, brainwashed is what you can see, and these products are the ones who are actually becoming leftists, anti-Hindu, or the ones who don't come and vote.
Concept of the Dravidian, that the Dravidians, this bogey that is posted all over. So this Dravidian bogey, is this a kind of a tool used by the conversion, the Christian missionaries, to help them accept conversion? That's his question or her question.
Yes, I want people to go down to the history of the Dravidian movement itself. It would be too controversial for me to tell that. But definitely, yes, there is a role that has been played. Today, if you look at who are those people who are talking about the Dravidian movement, who's behind it? See, please let us all understand that all these movements, there is one which shows up its face out to the outside world, but there is someone who's working behind it. We all know what happened to the Kundakalam movement. Who was behind it? It's much. There's much that's happening below the waters. You only see something else, but there's something else happening, and definitely yes, there is a huge role that is being played by the church in the Dravidian movement. It's there in the media. I would agree, yes.
What are your views on the Joshua Project?
Joshua Project. Thanks to the media. This is not yesterday's project. It's been there for years together. And what you see as a manifestation in all the states is the underwork of projects like this. There is a huge vested interest. The Western countries have been funding conversions. So it is, yes, it's a project that's there to convert India. Not many people are aware that there is a huge machinery ably supported by funds and political leaders across the globe. So I agree. It is a project, and there's nothing to view. It is something which is there to sabotage this country, and people need to be aware of it. First thing is to be aware of it.
Everyone's focus is on Muslims, while Christians have covertly done a lot of damage to Hinduism.
So one is something which is outright in the open. The other one is an ideological warfare. Two different kinds of warfares. One is in the open and ready to strike. The other one is one which does the back-end work.
And there's another one which says, any thoughts about Joshua Project?
We spoke about it. I just spoke about it.
I have another question. I really like the way you have done the session. Rather than presenting, it's more about interaction. Recently, I came across this video wherein a gentleman, again, who practices the faith, the Christian faith, came out and said that there is a resistance within the people to say that we have this reservation system, we have these, and we don't want this conversion to happen, because ultimately what happens is the more people you convert, then you have to share that pie with everyone. So do you think, I'm forgetting the gentleman's name, I think Rodriguez or someone, who says that, we are against conversion, and we have given, we are also talking to our priest to say that stop it, because what you're doing is that you're bringing in more people to the fold, and this leads to people who already are in this faith to lose out on the opportunities. So do you think this will slow down the conversion in a long run when they see that there's an inner conflict within people also?
No, I'm sorry. I think the person who spoke about it has absolutely no idea of this whole conversion business. Absolutely no idea. I'm sorry. He doesn't. I don't think he realizes it. You asked a question saying that if we convert more, we have to share more. I'm sorry, the person who has raised this question doesn't understand the whole conversion business.
So in a way, they are actually saying that we are pushing back the priest. I'm not sure whether it is true or not, but that's what
This
they're
is not
claiming.
correct. This is absolutely not correct because the agenda is different. Agenda is different. Agenda is not about sharing the money. The agenda is political control. The person who has made this comment has not understood the business of conversion.
I would like to say, when we were small and we were in school, we used to go to Christian schools because there were no other schools. And they made us, say the Christian prayers in the name of the Father. And we used to actually do the sign of the cross. And somehow we never objected. But now today, if you talk of teaching the Gita or something in schools, everybody is like, Hindutva and all this. So I think we should, establish some things for Hindus also.
Yes,
I
I
will be
guess.
forced to say those prayers, Now I feel very cheated and I wish I could protest, but that time we didn't have the brains to do anything.
Yeah, it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for all of us.
Yes, you had mentioned this word propagate in the constitution as being a major hurdle, in pushback against conversion. But as you probably know, many states already have similar laws on their books. Many Indian states do. Can you tell me if those laws have been effective at all on the ground?
It's a toothless tiger. Toothless tiger. Absolutely. This is a farce. It's a farce. That's why I said, see, I understand this is a state subject, but there needs to be a national debate on this, and a national law needs to come in. A national anti-conversion law needs to come. Leaving it to the state is a farce. It will not be effective. Tell me how many of them have been convicted? Hardly a couple of them, and they all have the political lords helping them to come out of all these legal problems. So it will not work. There should be a national anti-conversion law.
That is exactly the reason I am actually skeptical of a national anti-conversion law being effective, because you can still use the same mechanisms to circumvent that as well, because implementation we know is very lax anyway, whether it is at the national level or at the state level.
Ramakrishna, what I wanted to tell was this. See, it will not end with the law. There are a lot of things that can be, that today is a day of data integration. There's a lot of data. In fact, I have made a proposal to some key leaders in the government also, how to ensure that there is adherence. But there needs to be political will. See, when I said anti-conversion law, there's a lot of things that can be done to ensure that there is sanctity in it. But there needs to be political will. The government needs to implement it.
Because like you have been saying, probably a little subtle or in a muted way, but it is very clear to me that it is not simply a issue of only religion and conversion only. It is way beyond. Because it seems to me that wherever this is happening rampantly, there are serious issues of insurgency, like the belt of Chota Nagpur, or what's so-called Red Corridor within the country, or Northeast insurgency, and of late in parts of Andhra Pradesh also. So this is something which is very, very serious and beyond just a little game of we are more and you are less, that kind of thing. It is definitely in that realm. Second, where I see a very important contribution from people like you is where there is a matter like another, audience person is drawing the attention of the entire audience, which is that wherever there are legal aspects, unless we make effective laws and then follow it by political will, and political will not happen unless there is a people will behind it.
Absolutely.
To be very frank, because like you're saying, you are sleeping for 70 years and now you are feeling that something should happen for Hindus. Then that way we were sleeping for 1000 years, otherwise we would not have had any Christianity problem also in that sense. They would have come liberally. As long as it is faith, it is no problem. As long as it becomes a tool of politics, it becomes a problem. It's as simple as that. So then it has to be met at political and legal level, to be very frank.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, would you like to add something more? For instance, Article 35 and 35A, etc., which allow religions to propagate propagate by way of education. You know, essentially, they were not given right for mass education. They were given right possibly for education of faith. But then they have huge institutions. Muslims have madrasas, and they churn up certain indoctrination. And this Christians have again much better institution from point of view of education. But then they also leave away that rot or that indoctrination part, which is not there in any other schools. The general schools you cannot teach Gita, etc.
See, all the educational institutions are not these Christian institutions. They didn't bring it from any part of the country, any part of the world. This is our very own land, right? And this was granted by the erstwhile rulers of this country. So it is not that they earned it, right? It is our own country. It is our own infrastructure. It is our own wealth. It is our own money that they are throwing back. They are throwing back at us. They're using it to gain their own selfish motive. So education institution is one. It's a great place for the raw materials to get in and to go in and come out to be and probably an anti-national or to be a leftist or a communist. I've covered all these points when I have written, and I've written to some key leaders in our country because this requires a task force. It requires a task force. It needs people who think nationalistic, and there is no two way on this thought. But the government needs to give it a serious thought. Understand that there is a threat. This is a threat. Please let us all understand this is a threat to the sovereignty of this country. And unless the government, there's a political will, it cannot happen. And people like us are there. We can always help the government in framing laws which nobody can circumvent.
Maybe a follow-up session with you on the framework of the anti-conversion laws, specifically perhaps focusing on how do you circumvent the Constitution Articles 25 to 30, which actually allow you the right to proselytize and convert and all of that. That's supposedly the basic structure of the Constitution. So maybe a follow-up session, a more detailed session from you would be in order if you were willing for that.
I come from a corporate background. So my super boss always tells me when there are some good practices, shamelessly cut, copy and paste. So Israel has had a similar problem. They have passed the anti-missionary law, which is very effective. I have studied that part of it. I think if the government has a will, they can reach out and they can probably implement similar such laws. But there needs to be a political will. And as very clearly said, political will is nothing but people's will. If the people decide, then there can be a movement, and this movement can send a message to the government. It is possible. It is possible.
Would you be willing to do a session on that, a separate lecture on that?
Yes, definitely. I would.
Excellent. So we'll invite you for that. That'll be a very good way to take this conversation forward.
Thank you.
Is very sad. Is fourth pillar of the nation is compromised. How it is happening? Can you shed a light on this? See, the media is very silent on even the conversion. Lakhs of people conversion at one side. It won't make into news in next district itself. So such is media control by this conversion mafia. How do you explain how this media is working?
See, there is no, I don't have any expectations from the media because I myself, I remember, not now, many years back, many years back, when I was employed, when my first organization I employed, I remember seeing a lot of abuse. I reached out to the media and the media said they will not be able to cover it. This is not now, this is a good 20 years back. There was a lot of abuse that was happening in a particular Christian institution. I reached out to the media and the media refused to cover it. And things have not changed. But thankfully, today we have, you are the media, you and I are the media, right? We have the social media. So a lot of changes have happened because there is people coming together through social media awareness programs. So as far as the mass media is concerned, I don't have any expectations, and I don't think so. Any one of us should have expectations. Media, like for example, the Sangam Talks. These are great podiums. These are the channels that we can use to bring awareness among the people.
See, one time, Times of India and the Telegraph, one is East and West. See, headlines came when they went to Andaman and they got killed by arrow. Both headline was same. Bible saved him for 3 minutes. Bible saved the pastor from 3 minutes by killing. Both headlines are same. This cannot be happen unless they have been bribed. It cannot happen. And then it's true. It's true. See, wherever there was even a recent Palghar incident, it was blamed on Muslim, Hindu, Muslim something. Actually, for a whole 1 week, 10 days, news was like that only. Don't spread communal, don't spoil communal harmony like that, no, like that. See, and then issues came later. See, real picture is different, but picture given to people is different. Whole media, especially English media and electronic media, is compromised. It has been compromised. This is the biggest, and there is a big cabal. I think the big organization they're sharing. It's true. Even Washington Post took $19 million from China and also from Vatican, same amount from Vatican. That been exposed. But what Indian media takes, nothing been exposed. There is a big organizational way is going on, so nobody knows.
So no, there's nothing that we can do because he's talking about Mr. Ashokaji is talking about the media involved in cherry picking what to talk and what to not talk. That we cannot do anything, right? Because we know what the media is. We know what the media is.